All right, bingers, settle in. Welcome back to the Binge. Each week we dive headfirst into a brand new obsession. No rules, no limits, just a deep, unfiltered look at whatever captures our attention. And this time around, we're navigating some truly wild waters. We'll be recounting the absurd global chokehold of the Ever Given incident, witnessing the terrifying, silent breath of death from Lake Nyos, and delving into the daring, yet comically fumbled saga of the Great Train Robbery. So, clear your schedule, grab your favorite snack, and get ready to go all in, because once you start, you won't want to stop.
It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast.
The Ever Given incident, when a big boat broke the world. It's March 23rd, 2021. The world is still knee-deep in a pandemic. Supply chains are already looking like a tangled spaghetti monster, and everyone's just trying to get by. Meanwhile, out there on the high seas, an absolute behemoth of a container ship, the Ever Given, is making its way through the Suez Canal. This ain't no rowboat, folks. We're talking 400 meters long. That's longer than the Empire State Building is tall for you landlubbers. Carrying 20,000 containers filled with everything from sneakers to surgical masks. It was a floating Walmart, heading straight for one of the planet's most crucial maritime shortcuts. The Suez Canal is basically a glorified ditch that saves ships from having to go all the way around Africa. It's narrow, it's busy, and it's absolutely vital for global trade. You'd think piloting a ship that big through such a choke point would require some serious precision, maybe a wizard, or at least a pilot who hadn't just had a triple espresso and a bag of gummy bears. But no. Conditions were apparently gusty, a sandstorm was brewing, and perhaps, just perhaps, the pilot had a fleeting moment of existential doubt. Whatever the reason, the Ever Given veered. Not a gentle nudge, mind you, but a glorious, majestic swerve that rammed its bow into one bank and its stern into the other. And just like that, the damn thing got stuck, sideways, like a cork in a bottle. A very, very expensive, very, very heavy cork. The immediate reaction was probably a mix of bewildered laughter and quiet dread. Oh, a big boat got stuck. That's cute. Then the scale of the disaster slowly dawned. This wasn't just a traffic jam. This was a goddamn global artery blockage. Billions of dollars in trade every single day suddenly ground to a halt. Oil tankers, container ships, vessels carrying everything you could possibly imagine, all backed up, stretching for miles in either direction. It was a maritime parking lot, a floating monument to human logistical fragility. The attempts to dislodge it were a darkly comedic spectacle. Small tugboats, looking like enthusiastic puppies trying to move a sleeping elephant, strained against the behemoth. Diggers, tiny by comparison, valiantly chipped away at the bank, trying to free the bow. The internet, bless its cynical heart, went wild. Memes exploded. A tiny digger fighting a giant ship, the boat labeled "My Problems," and the digger, "My Efforts." It was the perfect metaphor for everything going wrong in the world. And we collectively laughed, because what else were we gonna do? Cry about our delayed IKEA furniture? The absurdity peaked when experts started talking about offloading containers to lighten the ship. Imagine the sheer, ungodly effort of moving thousands of massive metal boxes from a giant ship stranded in the middle of nowhere. It was a problem so colossal, so utterly ridiculous, that it felt like a cosmic prank. And all the while, the Suez Canal, a monument to human engineering, was rendered utterly useless by one really, really clumsy boat. The world watched, riveted and increasingly exasperated. Every update became an event. Was it finally moving? Had they tried pushing it with a really big stick yet? The ergonomic impact grew with each passing hour, the cost rising into the tens of billions. Factories started slowing down. Shelves started looking emptier, all because a boat decided to go horizontal. It was a stark, almost hilarious reminder of how interconnected and fragile our global supply chains truly are. One bad turn, one unfortunate gust of wind, and suddenly your new washing machine is stuck somewhere near Djibouti. Finally, after 6 agonizing days, with the help of high tides, massive tugboats, and what can only be described as a collective global sigh of relief, the Ever Given was successfully refloated. It slowly, majestically began to move again, leaving behind a trail of exhausted salvage crews, frantic shipping companies, and a global population that had learned a profound lesson about the unexpected power of a really big, really stuck boat. The Ever Given incident stands as one of the most absurd and economically impactful maritime blunders in recent memory. It's a testament to the fragile ballet of global commerce and the inherent hilarity of human-made problems. It proved that sometimes the biggest threat to civilization isn't a nuclear war or an asteroid, but a goddamn container ship deciding it needs a nap in the worst possible place. And that, my friends, is a truth as absurd and as frustrating as anything we've binged on. What a goddamn mess. Lake Nyos, the night the lake breathed death. It's the night of August 21, 1986, deep in the volcanic highlands of Cameroon, West Africa, nestled in a lush green valley, sits Lake Nyos. From the outside, it looks idyllic, serene, a pristine crater lake like countless others, but this seemingly peaceful body of water held a dark, silent secret. Beneath its tranquil surface, a monstrous, invisible killer was slowly, steadily building up. For decades, carbon dioxide, CO2, the very air you exhale, had been seeping from volcanic vents directly into the deepest parts of the lake. Under the immense pressure of the water above, this gas wasn't bubbling out harmlessly, it was dissolving. Like an unfathomably large, terrifyingly potent bottle of soda water. The lake was a goddamn ticking time bomb, a natural pressure cooker just waiting for the right moment to pop its top. Nobody knew this, of course. The local villagers living in blissful ignorance around its shores went about their lives, raising their families, tending their crops, occasionally fetching water from the very lake that was silently brewing their doom. What reason did they have to fear a still, deep body of water? It wasn't a volcano spewing lava or an earthquake shaking the ground. It was just a lake. A beautiful, utterly murderous lake. Around 9:30 p.m., the lake finally decided it had enough. What triggered it remains debated. A landslide, a small tremor, or maybe just the critical mass of gas finally being too much for the water to contain. But whatever the trigger, the result was catastrophic. With a sound that some described as a loud roar, others as a deep rumble, a massive plume of water hundreds of feet high erupted from the center of Lake Nyos. It wasn't water that was the true killer, though. As the lake burped, it released an estimated 1.6 million tons of carbon dioxide in a single terrifying gush. This wasn't some visible, noxious smoke. CO2 is invisible, odorless, heavier than air. As it exploded from the lake, it formed a dense, suffocating cloud that rolled down the surrounding valleys like an invisible, silent flood. It moved at speeds up to 30 miles per hour, hugging the ground, filling every dip, every hollow, every home. People and animals were simply overwhelmed. One moment you're sleeping soundly in your hut, the next you're breathing in air that's not air, and your lungs are screaming for oxygen they can't get. It's the ultimate, terrifyingly passive way to go, suffocated by perfectly clean, invisible gas. No fire, no explosion, just a silent, deadly blanket descending. Imagine that. Dying from the very act of breathing. What a goddamn cosmic joke. The morning light revealed a scene of profound, chilling horror. Thousands of people and tens of thousands of livestock and wildlife lay dead. Not a scratch on them. No signs of struggle, just gone. Entire villages wiped out. Bodies lying peacefully as if asleep. The only living things were those who had managed to climb to higher ground, or who were strong enough to withstand a brief exposure. One survivor described waking up feeling weak, stumbling out of his hut and finding his entire family dead, then seeing every single animal in his village, cows, chickens, goats, also lying lifeless. The sheer silent scale of the death was incomprehensible. Initial thoughts ranged from a new plague, to a chemical attack, to a divine punishment. It took brave scientists risking their own lives in the still dangerous CO2 pockets to piece together the terrifying truth. It was a limnic eruption. The lake had literally degassed, releasing its stored CO2, which had then flowed like a river of death through the valleys, displacing all the breathable oxygen. It was a natural phenomenon, utterly indifferent to human life, a geological burp that claimed thousands of souls. The Lake Nyos disaster was a brutal, unforgettable lesson. It forced scientists to understand a previously unrecognized danger lurking beneath the surface of certain deep, volcanic lakes. Since then, engineering teams have installed degassing pipes in Lake Nyos, slowly pumping the CO2 from its depths, creating a bizarre, artificial fountain of gas in an ongoing effort to prevent another such catastrophe. It's a slow, expensive, almost comically understated battle against an invisible geological threat. But the fear remains. Are other such lakes out there, silent killers waiting to exhale? The Lake Nyos incident stands as one of the most unique and horrifying natural disasters in modern history. It's a stark, chilling reminder that sometimes the most profound threats come not from fire or flood, but from the very air you breathe, released by a beautiful body of water with a belly full of silent, deadly gas. It proved that nature, in all its serene indifference, can be the ultimate, most brutal killer. And that, my friends, is a truth as absurd and as terrifying as anything else we've binged on. What a goddamn breath of fresh air. The Great Train Robbery, a masterpiece of audacity followed by a farcical fumble. It's the dead of night, August 8th, 1963. The British economy is chugging along, the Beatles are just taking off, and nobody suspects a damn thing. Out in the quiet Buckinghamshire countryside, a Royal Mail train, the Up Special, is thundering north from Glasgow to London. On board, specifically in the second carriage behind the engine, are 120 mail bags. And in one of those mail bags, there's a pricey sum of £2.6 million in used banknotes. A truly staggering amount of cash for the time, equivalent to something like £50 million today. This ain't pocket change, folks. This is retire to a tropical island and bathe in champagne money. Enter the gang, a motley crew of London criminals, led by Bruce Reynolds, a charming bastard with a penchant for flashy cars and grand schemes. They weren't exactly sophisticated, certainly not by today's supervillain standards. More like a bunch of lads who saw a big pile of money and thought, why not? Their plan? Stop the train, bust into the carriage, grab the bags, and vanish. Simple, right? Except trains, it turns out, are surprisingly difficult to stop in the middle of nowhere without being noticed. And breaking into a moving mail carriage requires more than just a polite knock. This was pure audacity mixed with a dollop of desperation and ambition. The actual heist itself was, to their credit, surprisingly well executed. They tampered with the railway signals, turning a green light to red, forcing the train to stop in a remote spot called Sears Crossing. The engine driver, Jack Mills, saw the red light and dutifully pulled over. Before he knew what the hell was happening, a masked figure had scaled the train, knocked him out with a sap, the poor sod never truly recovered, and decoupled the front two carriages. The plan was to move these 2 carriages to a nearby bridge where trucks were waiting. Now here's where the chaos truly began. The gang had planned to use the train's own engine to move the carriages, but they couldn't figure out how to operate the damn thing. They panicked, called for backup, and eventually the co-driver, David Whitby, was forced to move it. They then proceeded to haul 120 mailbags stuffed with 2.6 million pounds in cash from the train to their waiting lorries. Imagine the scene. Grown men grunting, sweating, probably swearing like sailors, throwing bags of money that weighed a ton, all under the oppressive silence of the English countryside at 3 a.m. It was less Ocean's 11 and more Three Stooges trying to rob Fort Knox. But by some miracle, they pulled it off. They had the money. The biggest cash haul in British history. And then, bless their amateur hearts, they proceeded to fuck it up. Their brilliant escape plan involved a prearranged hideout, Leather Slade Farm, a remote farmhouse they had bought just for this purpose. Perfect, right? Except this wasn't some secure, anonymous lair. It was a rustic farm, and they were a bunch of city blokes who clearly hadn't considered the simple logistics of vanishing with a literal mountain of cash. They spent the next few days holed up, counting their loot. Stacks and stacks of banknotes, so much money they didn't know what to do with it. They probably rolled around in it, threw it in the air, tried to light cigars with 5-pound notes, and while they were busy living out their gangster fantasies, they made every single rookie mistake in the book. They played Monopoly with real money. They left fingerprints everywhere. On the Monopoly set, on the ketchup bottles, on the goddamn milk crates. It was like a masterclass in how not to commit a clean getaway. The police, meanwhile, were on their tail, sniffing around, following every lead. It wasn't rocket science, it was basic police work, and these blokes were leaving a trail like a goddamn snail on a water slide. When they finally realized the heat was on, they set fire to the farmhouse to destroy the evidence. Except like everything else they touched, they botched that too. The fire barely took, leaving behind a treasure trove of evidence, including the infamous Monopoly board, fingerprints, and even a partially burned sock. It was a forensic gold mine for the police, a veritable how-to guide on exactly who robbed the damn train. The dragnet tightened quickly. One by one, the gang members were rounded up. Bruce Reynolds, Ronnie Biggs, who would become infamous for his dramatic escape and decades on the run, Buster Edwards, and the rest. The trials were a sensation, captivating the public with tales of daring crime and astonishing incompetence. Most of them received ridiculously long sentences, 30 years apiece for some, effectively ending their careers as career criminals, and certainly as masterminds. The Great Train Robbery became a legend, not just for the audacity of the heist, but for the sheer baffling amateur hour that followed. It's a testament to the fact that you can plan the perfect crime down to the last signal light, but if you leave your fingerprints on the damn Monopoly board while celebrating, you're just a common criminal with a very big, very short-lived wad of cash. It proved that sometimes the biggest threats to a criminal empire aren't the police, but the criminals themselves, getting too greedy, too careless, and too fond of a board game. What a goddamn glorious mess. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe. Are you tired of financial literacy books that feel like they were written by robots? You know, the ones that are so dry you need a glass of water just to get through a chapter? Well, I felt that same way, which is why I wrote Get Rich. Now let me be clear, I'm not some fancy financial guru with a string of certifications. What I am is someone who's figured a few things out on my own journey to accumulating wealth. I've made mistakes, I've learned valuable lessons, and along the way, I've gained some insights I genuinely believe can help you too. In Get Rich, I've poured all of that knowledge into a book that's written in my voice, the same voice you hear right here on the podcast. It's practical, it's relatable, and most importantly, it's designed to be anything but boring. If you're ready to learn about money without falling asleep, then Get Rich is for you. You can find the link to purchase it in the show notes of this episode. Go check it out.
You know by now, got stories stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Right now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Tune in right now. Stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast.